A large part of India's population hasn't even touched AI, and that's where we believe opportunity lies. We feel like India will leapfrog into more vertical use cases driving AI adoption.
So we believe fundamentally a teacher and a trainer in people's pockets is going to be the big step shift in this country.
In India, in schools, anyways, teacher-student ratios are 1:100, and it's hard to personalize. But with AI, you can actually now reimagine schooling. Although a lot of folks believe that companion apps are causing loneliness, I would say that they are the solution to loneliness, which already exists in our society. The fidelity and the quality of videos created by AI is so high, it is now possible to imagine more immersive forms of content consumption, where consumers are not just pure consumers but are also co-creators while consuming this content. And for the first time with AI, it is possible now to have a tutor whom you can speak and learn, versus with Duolingo it was all about grammatical exercise. PKX in our portfolio is pursuing the same problem statement in India.
Should I include that or? That part you cut, but I think that's great. Yeah. So you should do that again. Yeah. Hello and welcome to SummitUp by Elevation Capital, a series where we dive deep into the areas of excitement and opportunity for us in the Indian startup ecosystem. Today we are going to be talking about consumer AI applications and platforms, and to discuss that with me we have Manish, who leads investments in the consumer tech practice for us at Elevation. Welcome to the pod, Manish.
Thanks, Vishy. Good to be here.
Super. I think it's been a while since we had our last chat, so super excited. I want to start off by, my observation is that consumer tech in India has been probably the most successful sector when it comes to startups in India, right? And some of the largest outcomes have been built in this place, whether it is spaces like online travel aggregators, marketplaces, quick commerce, etc. And as Elevation, we've obviously had the privilege of partnering with some of the companies that have got created in this space, whether it is Swiggy, Meesho, ShareChat, etc. Right? So obviously this has been already a space where great outcomes have got delivered. But obviously we believe that AI is going to come and completely step shift the nature of consumer platforms that are getting built in the country and the quality of experiences that consumers will get. Will be good to understand from you at an Uber level, where do we think AI is going to change fundamentally the sort of consumer platforms getting built in India?
No, absolutely, and as you rightly pointed out, consumer tech continues to be one of the biggest value pools within which tech companies have been born. But all said and done, if I take a step back, broad mass of India still doesn't interact as much with consumer tech companies, right? Most large companies today are still growing north of 30-40% year on year on the back of deepening penetration, right? And then if I come to AI itself, today ChatGPT's penetration in India within the digital consumer base is only 5%. However, where it is penetrated, we see phenomenal usage and retention metrics, indicating that once users start interacting with some of these LLMs and using it for various use cases, they start seeing very strong PMF. But again, a large part of India's population hasn't even touched AI, and that's where we believe opportunity lies. We feel like India will leapfrog into more vertical use cases driving AI adoption. And I think the underlying theme for India overall has, in our mind, has been democratization of access to expertise. So anywhere and everywhere where human expertise was in scarcity, either in terms of expertise for knowledge, like in the case of education or health, or expertise in the case of multi-step decision making, right? Like in the case of commerce, we believe AI will actually elevate user experience and drive adoption in some of these use cases. So maybe we could dive in some of these use cases and explore it further. But that's the Uber theme where we feel a lot of innovation will be driven over the next few years.
Very interesting. So we believe fundamentally a teacher and a trainer in people's pockets is going to be the big step shift in this country. Super interesting. Let's dive deep into each of these verticals where we think, as you said, strong outcomes can get created. And I think the first one that comes to mind obviously is education, which given the size of the student pool in India seems massive, and yet it has been one of those spaces where I think we've always felt that more could be done in terms of how is technology leveraged to deliver better learning outcomes to Indians. How do we see AI fundamentally changing experience of Indians when it comes to education?
Yeah. So as compared to what has happened in edtech so far, I think wave 1 of edtech was more async learning. Wave 2 was more tutor-led learning. But all of these tutor-led models, whenever they were live, either in 1:1 or 1:many, always suffered from higher prices because again, whenever you have a human disseminating information or education to small groups, it's hard to make the price affordable, which causes your S&M cost to be high, which causes the entire org to be very sales led, and which is why most of these orgs could not scale up, because again, there was very heavy reliance on sales, there was very heavy reliance on supply side tutors, and that also is a short or a limited supply base that you can scale on, right? We feel like AI actually delinks your ability to serve and give a personalized experience to availability of humans, which is where we now feel like new companies will be born. We believe like there are few large spaces within education. We feel like within schooling there will be disruption. We believe there will be disruption in the way people prepare for various exams, various disciplines, and maybe we could go deeper into some of these.
Super. Let's maybe get into the school aspect, right?
Yeah.
How do you think the classical school K-12 sort of experience is going to get shifted by AI?
Correct. So over the last few years now, we have started seeing emergence of new offline first education models, right? So Mesa School in our portfolio is building a university, a new age university, and a lot of this, innovation has happened in higher education and in the upskilling space, but no one has today touched K-12 yet. Schools still continue to be run in the same manner that they were 20 years back. Apart from just change in curriculum, nothing much has changed. In the US, there is this company called Alpha School that we were studying very closely, which had adopted this model of having classes for only a few hours in the morning, and all of these classes would be completely AI driven, personalized for kids, where kids would interact with various AI tools which personalize the education for whatever their learner needs are. And there is a facilitator who is enabling you to go through some of these classes. And then there are life skills over the next few hours in the day, after which kids are left for their homes to pursue other activities, right? And we believe like it's possible now to actually reimagine education and within K-12. Today, like in India, in schools, anyways, teacher-student ratios are 1:100, right? And it's hard to personalize. But with AI, you can actually now reimagine schooling and give a higher quality experience. So that's one set of models we believe, like new age K-12 institutions would emerge, which are more AI-led. I think the second category is AI tools being built for teachers within schools.
Interesting.
So as I said, like, teacher-student ratio is poor in India. And teachers are overloaded. Believe it or not, like teachers have one of the busiest lives. In my circle, anyone who's a teacher is always under pressure, either correcting homework, correcting mark sheets, or preparing for classes, right? And we believe AI can actually lessen workload while at the same time elevating quality of experience for the students and the teachers. So that's the second space where I feel there will be innovation. In the US, there is this company called Magic School. They've scaled quite well. They help teachers prepare curriculum. At the same time, it also helps with homework assessment. And something similar could be thought through in India. Again, how it monetizes, how it scales, how it distributes, those are unsolved problems that founders will have to come and take a crack at. But we believe that there is deep value prop if you build something even teacher first in India.
Super. Very interesting. I think even as you were saying that education has fundamentally not changed, at least K-12 education since our time.
Yeah.
I couldn't sort of not agree with it very violently, because my kids go to an IB school and the fees are an order of magnitude higher, but I'm not quite sure the learning outcomes or the trajectories are necessarily that different, right? So I do think that this is a space where a lot of parents will deeply agree that yes, it needs a degree of disruption. But maybe shifting gears from learning at school to learning outside, right? I think one of the new norms or reality of life in this post-AI world is you got to be learning constantly. So, and I think there is a lot that we believe AI can do in terms of just accelerating or delivering better learning experience for everything besides just the structured pedagogy that you learn in a school. What do we think about that?
No, absolutely. So as you were saying, right, like the future vision is that there is a AI tutor in everyone's pocket for everything that you want to learn. There are three major categories where we feel today there are verticalized AI first tutors being created in India, right? One is language learning. So within language learning, globally there is, you have Duolingo, which is the incumbent, but Speak.com has actually scaled quite well. And they focused on the niche but prevalent use case of people who know how to speak a language, but how do you speak it more fluently? That's the thesis around which they built out. They went after Korea and Japan as markets and have really been able to scale well. And for the first time with AI, it is possible now to have a tutor whom you can speak and learn. Versus with Duolingo, it was all about grammatical exercises that you were doing. Similarly, SpeakX in our portfolio is pursuing the same problem statement in India. And again, for the Indian audience, it's vernacular, so you have to really localize to their context. The context in which you want to learn English is not order coffee in a cafe, but how do I give an interview? So all of those changes you need to do to really fit your product to the audience, and they are seeing phenomenal uptake. They are one of the largest consumer of tokens, AI tokens in India for Gemini.
That just shows such massive adoption at scale, right?
Correct.
Very interesting.
So and
we've always known that English learning is such a
such an innate need,
use case and need in India. Very interesting.
I think the second category beyond language learning is just test prep, because there are few million learners every year who are giving some of the more broader exams out there. And today, in terms of what is available to them is, apart from offline coaching, is online video-led classes. But there is really no one personalizing the curriculum, helping you prepare a study schedule, ask or answer your questions, and at the same time give you guidance on what to practice or prepare next. There's literally no one out there, and there are few early stage companies which are going after this problem statement, and at least early signs are positive. So I think that's the second area where innovation is happening. I think the third area is just niche use cases where there were access to tutors was either hard or access to quality tutors was not possible at scale. One example is music learning, where a lot of people who want to learn music today don't know where to pursue it and how to pursue it. I think second area is fitness, where we feel again access to quality fitness instructors is limited, although access to fitness instructors is not. And those are also some of the areas where we feel like verticalized apps could come in and actually create an elevated experience as compared to what you would get if you were to go to a ChatGPT.
Very interesting. So I think both I can strongly resonate with. A guitar teacher and a gym trainer in my pocket. I think that would be a dream for me at a 99 rupee price point per month ideally. But great. Moving on to the next sort of use case beyond education, and we were chatting about this a bit, right? So the largest consumer tech platforms that have got built out in India and also in the world have been commerce and marketplaces apps, right? And these seem already very large, well entrenched, and it's become a habit for consumers. How is AI going to come and fundamentally sort of shift something, and then how does that allow for a new paradigm to get created by a new builder out there?
No, absolutely. I think commerce is another large space which we feel will get reimagined with AI. So the way we think about commerce at Elevation is that any space which required a human intermediary to come in and match supply and demand will get fundamentally reimagined with AI. Traditionally, these models were unable to scale because of the requirement to have this intermediary, and hence it ultimately became like a people services org, which taps out at some point or the other, right? Because human churn of employees, etc., starts eating into your stable revenues. But ultimately, those models now can get delinked, and you can actually go and solve for those markets today with the help of AI. One example of this being approached today is through the entire AI concierge thesis. This thesis, and there are a bunch of companies working on it, is what if you had a personal butler in your pocket, right? Available at a subscription per month, and you could get it to do anything that you wanted to do earlier, right? So one big use case is figuring out, let's say, a local vendor for getting your clothes dry cleaned. The other day I asked one of the assistants to actually help me arrange for a pickup and drop for my car for servicing. So can you have AI at the back end do these use cases aided with a human? Earlier, if there was only human, the price would have been unaffordable. It wouldn't have been scalable as a model. But with AI today, we feel like there is possibility to scale such horizontal plays also where human involvement was key.
Interesting. Actually, even as you were saying, I could reflect on in the last 2 weeks, me using a couple of these concierge type apps for getting things done, right? So for example, I asked someone to figure out what are the garment service centers, and then how to get it sent there and get it repaired. And I can surely understand what you're saying, which is with the lack of AI, it is too manual for one person to understand the brief and then to do a massive online, offline search, etc. and then go back and close the loop will be next to impossible. But the minute AI does 80% of the task here,
Yeah.
I can see how this becomes scalable enough for me to be relying on this service a lot more.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not just horizontals, but I feel the opportunity also lies in going deep into a vertical and solving it. For example, in travel, today, if you were to imagine if someone could give you an end-to-end stitched experience for a travel, for a trip in Europe for 10 days, because there are just so many touch points involved. Like you need a cab vendor, you need to book flights, you need to figure out which hotels to stay in, you need to figure out attractions. It's like you need a human to help you with this experience. Usually, that human is you yourself, if you're doing it DIY, or
need
it is
someone
some
to get
agent.
alignment between you and your spouse.
Correct. So I feel like with the help of AI, you could now create like a new age travel agency of sorts, where you can service the new generation of consumers at lower price, at their level of flexibility required, with actually unique experiences, blended into the trip. So that's another vertical opportunity that we feel is large. The other vertical opportunity from, again, these insights are from what people use concierge for, is local search. Local search remains to be one of the last frontiers of digitization when it comes to commerce, right? And today it's possible to give a stitched experience on top of local search, and maybe over time formalize that space itself as well. So that's another vertical for people to go and build.
AI yellow pages.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, moving on maybe to the next space, which is around content, right? I think Indians have been the biggest beneficiary of low-cost data and smartphone ubiquity when it comes to just access to entertainment platforms and consumption of entertainment experiences. But how does all of that change with AI getting deeply embedded into content platforms?
No, absolutely. And if I take a step back and just look at what's been happening in content over the last few years, right? I think emergence of short form, both in edutainment, as in the case of Seco, or entertainment, as in the case of so many short drama apps that have come up and scaled, have only gone on to show that the way India consumes content is changing, and India is today ready to pay for content. Which has allowed very capital efficient businesses to be built out in this space, and hence we continue to be very excited about newer forms of content innovation happening. With AI today, everyone is a consumer and a creator, and today the fidelity and the quality of videos created by AI is so high that we are now seeing so much content which is AI driven, which is being consumed popularly in India, right? You would see so many AI reels which are high fidelity, which are consumed by folks. There are some of these AI movies that have been created on Hotstar, on Jio, and a bunch of other OTT platforms which people are consuming. So we feel like the fidelity of AI has reached there, and given this, it is now possible to imagine more immersive forms of content consumption, where like consumers are not just pure consumers but are also co-creators while consuming this content. One example is, and we've seen a few of these companies which are creating bedtime stories for kids, where you can create a personalized bedtime story where your kid is the primary character, and you can add in whatever characters you want to be added, right? And in fact, it's such a popular use case that Gemini added it as a mini app within their within their chat itself, right? So that's another way of how content is being reimagined, right? And if you were to now extrapolate it to everyone, to adults, you could imagine that there are, like visual stories where you are a part of, where you are interacting, where it's more like a game rather than just one-dimensional consumption. And some of these will need to be hosted on a new destination. This can't be hosted on YouTube. And hence we feel like some of these destinations will get born. And again, it could be very India first in the way it is created. The other way to think about examples of this happening, so there is this company called AI Dungeon in the US. They allow you to like interact with stories and keep extending the story according to the direction that you like. That's one use case. The second use case actually is character AI. So in a way, on character AI, when you are speaking with a fictional character, you are in a way creating a story while interacting with that character, right? So that's another way in which a new format of content is being born.
On the note of character AI, right? So I think you're right. To a large extent, it is also about content creation and interactive content experiences. But fundamentally, when we were looking at it, it is also used by folks largely as a companion app.
Correct.
And we've seen companion apps, especially in the Western use case, really mushroom, right? There are a bunch of those. What has always surprised me is even the relevance of something of that sort from an Indian context, and also the very strong adoption that we are seeing for some of these apps, right? So maybe unpack that a little bit for us. Why do we see, because it seems a little counterintuitive to me for the sort of people we are culturally, and also for a market of 1.3 billion people, how does companionship, loneliness, etc. Even turn up as, you know, as big a use case as it is?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, and that was one of the questions that we also had in the early days as we were seeing some of the players scale up. See, in India again, you have, like, given our social structures, everyone has someone or the other to speak with, right? But the challenge, at least, is that there are a lot of issues that are taboo that you don't want to speak about, right? And people are not very open about what they are going through in their personal lives, and hence I think there has been a space for a companion through the time, which AI today has unlocked. Today in India, there are a few other companies which have created more horizontal personal companions, which help people to navigate their own personal journeys, help them with loneliness, etc. And that space we are personally very excited about. We feel like this could be a very large opportunity, and although a lot of folks believe that companion apps are causing loneliness, I would say that they are the solution to loneliness, which already exists in our society, right? Because of whatever social constructs we live in. So that's one major tailwind, that major opportunity we've seen in this space. Today, as people are building companions, we've also now realized is that there are specific use cases where you would want conversations to happen, which are today not being served very well. And some of these segments include, mental health, where people are not very open to speak guidance from a therapist, right? And we feel like today you can actually create a more therapeutic mental health first AI companion, which can help you navigate your mental health journey and help you get closure. The other area where we have seen a lot of opportunity is Astro in a way. Astro market in India generally has been taboo for some time, but the realization that we've also had as we've spent more time has been that generally astrology is a fit for like therapeutic guidance, is actually a replacement for therapeutic guidance for the masses of India, right? And it, like, all of a sudden it is a use case that a large set of people in India do go through, both online, offline.
Correct.
And since this is today human led, it is not affordable, it is not accessible to a large mass, and we feel like an AI first astro opportunity does exist, to give more better guidance, to give more detailed guidance, and to help users navigate that journey in a more meaningful manner as well. So I think those are some of the opportunities we see which are more verticals within companionship, and we continue to hunt for companies within some of these spaces.
Super. First to ask you, how should young teams or early founders think about building in this space in India? What would be your pointers or advice to them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. See, I think if you are a young team planning to build in consumer AI in India, do come talk to us and do build.
Of course.
Because fundamentally we don't see as many teams building in consumer AI even today as we had seen, let's say, in the early days of let's say local hyper-local services, etc. Right? So it's still not as crowded as it would look like outside in.
Wow. Okay.
In terms of what an early team should think of, I would say over-index on consumer insights more than the tech at the back end. Today, most early teams which are starting out are able to use a lot of the off-the-shelf models to stitch together a good experience, and hence day zero you don't need to have someone really deep into AI, or like a person who is really deep into AI research, right? So if it's a group of individuals who can stitch together an app, I think that's a good place to start out with. And once you go live, my recommendation would be to get to the scale of few hundred users as soon as possible. So you can start getting real metrics, real data, and real feel of the product and what's working versus what's not. And that's the way to go and build it. I think over time, as you scale the org, you would want to hire someone deep into AI research to elevate user experience. Also, the other important point is to not fuss too much about AI cost day zero. Because as we've seen across the board, like LLM costs have only been going down by a factor of 10 every year, right? and hence what you start out with might not be the cost structure you sit on tomorrow. So focus more on value delivery rather than worrying too much about cost day zero. That would be the second piece of advice. But yeah, I think generally in all of these consumer apps, the best signal you get is from actually building
adoption
and giving it in the
metrics.
hands of users.
Yeah.
So that's what you should focus on day zero.
Superb. I think this was a super interesting chat, Manish. Thank you so much for spending time in showcasing how is it that we look at various opportunity spaces in consumer AI in India, where our areas of excitement lie, and more importantly, I think if there is one message that we want to leave young builders, it is there's no better time to build than now in this space.
100%.
And if you want to reach out to our team and just bounce the ideas of what you're working on, or even try to get some feedback on some of the choices you're making, whether it is GTM, whether it is technical, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to engage with you guys. See you again soon.